So today's topic is hormones. So steroidal hormones are related or represent one of the most widely used classes of therapeutic agents. Okay, they are drugs primarily used in birth control pills, hormone replacement therapy in place of your inflammatory conditions, cancer treatment. So these are the basic uses of your steroidal hormones, and all these steroidal hormones are synthesized from cholesterol. So cholesterol is the basic thing from where all steroids hormones are synthesized. So it's a 27 carbon molecule. Okay, most of these agents are chemically based on common structural backbone, the steroidal backbone. That is your steroidal backbone. The steroidal hormones in mammals are biosynthesized from cholesterol, which in turn is made in vivo from acetylcholine, that is your HMG-CoA synthesis pathways, and mevalinic acid pathway. So this is your introduction about your steroidal hormones. So now what are the types of steroidal hormones? So there are glucocorticoids, there are mineralocorticoids, there are androgens, estrogens, and progestins. So glucocorticoids, example is cortisol, is the major representative of in most mammals. Mineralocorticoids is your aldosterone. Androgens, it is testosterone. Estrogen, example estradiol and estrone. Progesterone or progestins, such as example is progesterone. Okay, so these are the types of steroidal hormones that are present. Now, the functions of steroidal hormones. Steroidal hormones play an important role in carbohydrate regulation, that is glucocorticoids, mineral balance, that is mineralocorticoid, aldosterone, reproductive function, gonadal steroid, that is estrogen and estrogen, testosterone, and progesterone. This plays an important role in your reproductive function. Moreover, steroids play an important role in inflammatory responses, stress response, bone metabolism, cardiovascular fitness, behavior, cognition, and more. Okay, so this is the major functions of your steroidal hormones. Now, steroidal hormones, they are not packed but synthesized and immediately released. So they are not kept in some vesicles. They are instantly synthesized and immediately released as per the requirement. Are derived from the same parent compound. As I have explained earlier, the main source of all your carbohydrate, all your hormones is your cholesterol. Enzymes which produce steroid hormones from the cholesterol are located in your mitochondria and your smooth endoplasmic reticulum in your cells, nucleus. Steroids, as you know, they are huge molecules. They are lipid soluble, thus freely permeable to the membranes. So they are not stored in your cell. They can easily penetrate into your cells. They are not stored in your cells. Next thing is about steroids is steroid hormones are not water soluble because it is hydrophobic in nature. So they should be carried in the blood by complexing with specific binding globulins. So these are proteins. These are specific proteins which they bind and they are transported across your blood system. Corticosteroid binding protein carries cortisol. Your sex steroids binding globulin carries your testosterone and estradiol. In some cases, steroid is secreted by one cell. It is secreted in one cell and converted into active steroid by the target cell. Okay. So let us see. Example is androgen, which is secreted by gonads but are converted into estrogen in the brain. So estrogen is synthesized in your brain. So the starting material of this thing is your testosterone, which is synthesized in your gonad, and your estrogen is formed in your brain. So these are the various functions of your steroid. So as I said, testosterone gets converted into dihydrotestosterone, which binds to the receptor and enters your nucleus, which leads your mRNA synthesis. Similarly, estradiol, testosterone, which is synthesized in your gonads, gets converted into your estradiol, which enters into your cell membrane, binds with your receptors, and thus gets converted, shows its transcriptional activity. So now that's steroid hormone. hormones, they bind to the receptors which are present in the cytosol or in the nucleus. So they have to penetrate first. The steroid hormones has to penetrate from your cell membrane, enter the cytosol, and there they will bind with your specific receptors which are present. And when they bind to the receptor, then only they enter the cell, bind with a specific portion in your DNA, which leads to your formation of mRNA transcription and your protein synthesis. So that's why they play an important role in your cell formation. Okay, steroids being, as I said, it is lipophilic in the enter and they. So how is the receptors, steroidal hormone receptor interaction? So we'll just talk more about that. So what happens? The steroidal hormone, because of its hydrophobic nature, they can easily penetrate into your cell membrane and enter the cytoplasm. So once it enters the cytoplasm, you can see the first stage. Then the steroids bind to a specific receptor, cytosolic receptor, which is kept in an inactive form by combining with heat shock proteins. Okay. The moment the receptor binds with your steroidal hormone, this changes the conformation of your heat shock protein, releasing it from the receptors. Once these heat shock proteins are released, the receptors becomes active and they bind directly to the DNA and initiates the transcription process. This leads to a formation of mRNA that enters your cytoplasm and gets converted into your required protein. So wherever it binds, that particular mRNA proteins will be synthesized. So this is how your steroid hormone binds with the receptors and leads to your transcription. Now these receptors. So what are the different types of receptors that are present? So progesterone, first we will talk about progesterone receptors. These progesterone receptors are of two types. They are all derived from a single gene. They are of two types, that is progesterone A receptor and progesterone B receptor, known as PRB and PRA. Okay. Progesterone B receptor mainly indicates the stimulatory action of your progesterone. So this, once progesterone binds with your progesterone B receptor, this will initiate the activity of your progesterone. Now what does this progesterone A? This is a control receptor which controls the activity of all other hormones. Okay, like your estrogen, androgens, mineralocorticoids, aldosterons, all these activities are controlled by this. They prevent the transcription. So this is a difference between progesterone A receptor and progesterone B. B is a stimulatory and A is your inhibitory. They inhibit your activity of rest of your hormones. Okay. All androgenic gonadoreceptors, glucocorticoid receptors, are present in a single form. Only one gene and one proteins are known for each receptor. So they are synthesized from one single gene. Now estrogen receptors. So the estrogen receptors are of two types, alpha and beta. So what is this, which are encoded by different genes. Okay, they have got different genes encoding them, alpha and beta. And where is this alpha present? These are present in your uterus, vagina, ovaries, as well as in the breast and hypothalamus in your brain. And estrogen beta is present in your ovaries and prostate, and in a low amount in your lungs, brains and vasculature, that is your blood vessels. So this is where your estrogen receptors are present. So estrogen exerts its effect by interaction with estrogens, your estradiol, estrone. They exert their effect by interaction with these receptors that are members of the superfamilies of your nuclear receptor. After entering the cell by passive diffusion, as explained earlier, pass through the plasma membrane, the hormone binds with the estrogen receptors in the nucleus. So within the nucleus, which are present in the plasma, estrogen receptors, they bind. In the nucleus, estrogen present is inactive monomer. It's an inactive monomer bound to an heat shock protein, and upon binding of the estrogen, a change in estrogen receptor conformation dissociates from your heat shock protein. This causes its dissociation from heat shock, causing the receptor dimerization with your hormone, which increases your affinity and rate of receptor binding to your DNA. That leads to your transcription. So this is how your estrogen receptors act. Now your so where are these hormones synthesized? It is basically synthesized in your adrenal. They are also called as adrenocortical hormones. And adrenal corticus has three different zones, each responsible for production of three different types of your steroids. That is C21, 19, and 18. So what are the three zones? Zona glomerulosa, zona fascicularis, and zona reticularis. So these are the three zones which are present in your adrenal glands, which synthesize different hormones. Okay, steroidal hormone, as we said, is classified into two. That is adrenocortical hormones and sex hormones. Adrenal cortical secretes steroidal hormones like your aldosterone and corticosterone, and sex hormones are responsible for are androgens and estrogens. As we know, mineralocorticoids are used for your maintaining of electrolyte balance. Glucocorticoids effects on your carbohydrate, protein, and fat metabolism, and androgen affects the muscle development, maturity, and development of your sexual character. So these are the uses of your different hormones, steroidal hormones. So as we said, the main source of synthesis of all your hormones are steroidal hormones are cholesterol. Now let us see which portion is responsible for synthesis of which hormone. Okay, let's go into detail. So zona fasciculata synthesizes your pregnenolone. Okay, this pregnenolone gets bifurcated. It gets converted into your 7-hydroxypregnol. Okay, it gets converted to your 7-hydroxypregnol, whereas in your this thing it undergoes converted into isomerase. It gets converted into progesterone, either hydroxylation at the 17th position with a double bond at the 5th and the 6th position, whereas in case of progesterone there is an isomerization of double bond. The double bond gets shifted to the 2nd, 4th and the 5th position. That is your progesterone. 11-hydroxyprogenolone gets converted into 17-hydroxyprogesterone. That is isomerization takes place. Then that gets converted into 11-deoxycortisol. 11-deoxycortisol means there is no OH at the 11th position of your cortisol. All the things are there except your OH. And the last step is hydroxylation to give your cortisol. Next is your corticosterone. Cortisol is OH at the 11th. Corticosterone is what? It contains an methyl group. Okay, OH. It is corticosterone. Progesterone, it is synthesized from deoxy, then converted into your progesterone. This is your examples of your corticosterone. Now, zona glomerulosa is responsible for synthesis of aldosterone. So, these cortisols are glucocorticoids, whereas aldosterone is a mineralocorticoid. Mineralocorticoids are synthesized in your zona glomerulosa. Okay. So, your pregnenolone gets converted into progesterone. Progesterone gets converted into deoxycortisone. That is no OH at your 11th position. Corticosterone, and this corticosterone gets converted into your aldosterone. That is your introduction of your aldehyde at your 17th carbon. So that is your aldosterone. Next is zona reticulosa, which is responsible for synthesis of androstenedione. Androstenedione, which is the precursor for synthesis of all your steroidal hormones, that is testosterone, dihydrotestosterone, and estradiol. So this is the precursor for the synthesis. So these are the three zones which are responsible for synthesis of different types of your steroids and hormones. Now let's go for cholesterol. So as you said, cholesterol is abundant in your body. It can be present, it is found in your brain, nervous tissue, bloodstream, and it's a major found in your gallstone and blood. And they may cause arteriosclerosis by depositions on your vascular body, walls of your blood vessels. That is known as arteriosclerosis. So And one of the most important thing is that cholesterol cannot be obtained from your fat source. It can be synthesized from your proteins, carbohydrates, and fats. So that only by controlling your diet does not reduce your cholesterol. We have to have a control on everything. So only by reducing your diet means it can be synthesized from alternate source also. So this is about cholesterol. Your nomenclature. Your nomenclature. Basic nomenclature means, now let's start with, means we start with your cholesterol. So cholesterol is how much? It's cholesterol. Cholesterol is 29. Okay. So 29 carbon. It contains an extra ethyl group at the 24th carbon, that is 28, 29. Okay, that is extra in case of your cholesterol. Cholesterol does not contain your alkyl group, ethyl group at the 20. That's the difference with cholesterol and cholesterol. So this is your basic 29 carbon A, B, C, D ring with the substitutions. These are the total number of carbons which are present. Now common examples. So gonane. Gonane means it does not contain a methyl at the 10th and the 13th. That is gonane. Ostraine means it contains a methyl at the 13th position, no methyl at the 10th position. Okay, no methyl at the 10th position. Now androstenedione, it contains and methyl and methyl at the 11th, 10th and the 13th position, whereas there is no substitution at the 17th position. Whereas in case of pregnant, it is 21 carbon with methyl at the 10th and the 13th position. Okay, that is your basic backbones of your steroidal hormones. Now some of the other rules that states, so if the side chain does not contain methylene group, then it is indicated by null. Any group, if the group is removed, then it is known as, so on the 23rd position, 23rd nor 5 alpha beta choline. Okay, so basic ring is choline ring, that is 27. There is no removal of your alkyl group from the 23rd position. That's why it is known as 25 nor alpha or beta choline. Okay. Next is if the steroid does not contain an angular methyl. Does not contain an angle. So prefix nor preceded by the number designating the methyl group. So at the, now if you see at the 10th position there is no methyl group. So that's why it is known as 10 nor 5 alpha beta androstenedione. Okay, androstenedione, because it is, there is no methyl group at the 13th position and the basic ring is said to be androstenedione. So if there is a reduction in ring contraction occurs. So you put a prefix nor A, that is A ring where there is, you indicate the ring followed by nor. So this is how you represent, okay, the structure when there is a ring. Now if there is a ring then is an ring expansion, then it is known as homo. You write the name of the ring where there is an extension followed by homo and the name of the steroid. So this is a homo when there is an increase in your size of the ring. Fifth one, if there is a breakage of ring. So breakage of ring is represented at which position? You put the prefix sico. You put a prefix sico in front and the number and the position where the bond is broken. That is, if you see in this particular structure, the bond is broken between the second and the third. That's why it is known as 2,3 sico 5 aldosterone 2,3 dionic acid. Okay, so this is how when there is a breakage of bond. When there is steroid contains a 3-membered ring, it is known as cyclo. That is 13 alpha 5 alpha cyclocholesterol. So why it is 3 and because there is a formation of your cyclopropane ring between the 3rd and the 5th carbon. That's why it is known as 3 alpha 5 alpha cyclocholesterol. Okay, cyclocholesterol. Now the stereochemistry. Now the stereochemistry, what does it say? The carbon atoms in the steroid rings is 19. So in the steroidal ring there are 19 carbons, 17 and the 18 and 19 is your at the 10th and the 13th position there are methyl group. Fully saturated steroid rings contain 9 dissimilar asymmetric carbon. There are 9 asymmetric carbon that at the 3rd, 5th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 13th, 14th, 17th and 20th position contains a symmetric center. So there will be 512 optical isomers that can be formed. Since there are 9 stereogenic centers, so there will be 2 raised to 9, that is 512 stereoisomers, optical isomers of your cholesterol. Okay, so this is your biosynthesis of your steroidal hormones. So how the steroidal hormones are synthesis? It starts with cholesterol acetate gets hydrolyzed by enzyme to cholesterol, and by lyase C20 and 22 lyase. So lyase means it breaks the bond between 20 and 22. Okay, C20 22 means the bond at the 21st carbon is broken. You get a pregabalin. You get your pregabalin. And next is 3 beta hydroxy isomerase. So your what happens? There is an isomerase. Which is a pregabalin contains a double bond at the 4th, 5th and 6th, whereas in progesterone it contains the double bond at the 4th. So here the isomerase enzyme acts. So it changes the position from 4th, 5th and 6th to 4th and to form a progesterone. If you go to the right, and this will form an hydroxylase. So hydroxylase, 21 hydroxylase means introduction of your hydroxyl group at the 21st position. Now next is that leads to formation of deoxycorticosterone. It gets lead to formation of your deoxycorticosterone, means it does not contain an OH at the level. Next is 11 beta hydroxylase. What is this 9 beta hydroxylase? It introduces your hydroxyl group at the 7th position. It introduces at the 11th position. It introduces your OH at the 11th position, and you get a corticosterone. Next is 18 hydroxylase. 18 hydroxylase, which converts your OH to at the carbon at the 18th carbon into your methyl group to your corresponding alcohol. And next is dehydroxylase, 18 hydroxy dehydrogenase, that converts your alcohol into your aldehyde. This leads to formation of your aldosterone. Okay, so now the side chain is what? Your pregabalin gets converted into your 7 hydroxy pregabalin by 17 hydroxy hydroxylase, which undergoes isomerization to give 17 alpha hydroxy progesterone, and this undergoes hydroxylate at the 11th position, at the 21st position by 21 hydroxylase to give deoxycortisol, which gets converted into cortisol by 11 beta hydroxylase by introduction of hydroxyl group at the 11th position. Okay, now this 7 hydroxy progesterone gets converted in by breaking between 17 and 20. So this lyase enzyme that breaks your bond between your side chain, entire side chain is removed, that gets converted into your dehydroepiandrosterone. It gets converted into your dehydroepiandrosterone. Okay, dehydroepiandrosterone means it contains your OH at the 17th position, alpha position, and double bond at the, it contains a OH at the 3rd position and double bond at the 5th position. Okay, this gets converted into dehydroepiandrosterone, okay, sulfate, and by isomerase enzyme it gets converted into your aldosterone, and this androstenedione gets converted by isomerase enzyme to your testosterone, and by, and you can also get it from 5-androstenedione to your corresponding by isomerase enzyme to your testosterone. So this is how your testosterone is synthesized. This is how your testosterone is synthesized. Okay. Now this is your total representation. So testosterone that is aldosterone that is synthesized under by the enzyme aldosterone gets converted into estrone. This estrone in the liver and placenta gets converted into your estradiol. Estradiol. The testosterone which is present by aromatase enzymes gets converted into estradiol, and this estradiol in the liver and placenta gets converted to your your estradiol. Okay, so this is how you can synthesize different steroidal hormones starting from your corticocholesterol. This is how you can prepare. So this is the changes that occurs in your, so this is nothing but your biosynthesis of your steroidal hormones. And now comes the basic. As I said, cholesterol is the major. Then you know which are all the rings. If you contains 27 carbon, it is known as cholesterol. If it contains 21 carbon, it is known as pregnein. If it contains 19 carbon, it is known as androstenedione. And if it contains 18 carbon, it is known as estrone. As you know, your cortisol contains an OH at the 21st position, carbonyl group at the 20th position, your OH at your alpha position, 17 alpha position, your extra OH at your 11th position, a carbonyl at the 3rd, and the double bond is at the 4th position. So this is the structure of your cortisol. Now what is the difference between your cortisol and androstenedione? Androstenedione is also a 21 carbon with an OH at the 21st position, carbonyl at the 20th position. There is no OH at the 17th position. The difference over here is that it contains an extra carbonyl group, aldehyde group at the 18th carbon. So your methyl gets converted into your aldehyde group. Now this was between your corticosteroids, glucocorticoids and mineralocorticoids. Now let's go for your steroidal hormones. The steroidal hormones are 3: progesterone, testosterone and estradiol. So your progesterone contains, so in case of cholesterol, there is an OH at the 3rd position, double bond is at the 5th and 6th position, there is a methyl at 19 and 18 at the 10th and the 13th carbon of the ring, and at the 17th position it contains an alkyl group and branched alkyl group. Okay, so this is cholesterol. Now what happens when the cholesterol gets converted to a progesterone? First of all, the double bond changes from your 5th position to the 4th position. That is the first thing. In case of progesterone, there is a carbonyl group. Your OH group gets converted to your carbonyl group at the 3rd position, and the 21st position, at the 17th position, it contains an ketone. That is a methyl ketone at the 17th position. Rest all things are same. Testosterone, there is no alkyl substitution at the 17th position. There is an OH at the 17th position. There is a carbonyl at the 3rd, and the double bond is at the 4th position. Rest all things methyl at the 10th and the 13th position. Next is your estradiol. Estradiol contains an OH. First A ring is aromatic, that is, it is completely unsaturated. OH at the 3rd position, and your OH at the 17 beta hydroxy position. Okay, so this is your structure. Here are the nomenclature. This is the nomenclature of your steroids. Cholesterol is the backbone for your cholesterol, that is your 6C27 carbon, and it contains a double bond at the 5th position and OH at the 3rd position. So that's why it is known as cholesterol, 5-cholesterol 3O. In case of pregnein backbone, the examples trivial name are cortisol, aldosterone, progesterone and pregnenolone. So cortisol is 4-pregnein, that is double bond at the 4th position. There is a triol at 11 beta, 12 alpha and 21, and a dione 2-carbonyl group at the 3rd and the 21st carbon. That is your cortisol. Aldosterone, it is 4-pregnin with hydroxyl group at the 11th and your 21st position, and 11 beta and 21st position. And there is 3 carbonyl group at the 11th, at the 3rd, 18th and 20th carbon. So that is the difference between the aldosterone and cortisol. Progesterone is, it contains 4-pregnin, that is double bond, 21 carbon with double bond at the 4th carbon. It contains an diol, that is carbonyl group at the 3rd and the 20th position. Okay. Now pregnenolone contains a pregnenolone ring and a double bond at 5th position, and it contains an OH at the 3rd and a carbonyl group at the 20th position. Aldosterone containing is androstenedione. So androstenedione contains 19 carbon with the double bond at the 4th position and containing a carbonyl at the 3rd and the 17th. Testosterone contains 4 androstenedione, that is double bond at the 4th position with an hydroxyl group at the 17th and a keto group at the 3rd position. Whereas dihydro epiandrostenedione contains, so there is a double bond at the 5th position, OH at the 3rd and the carbonyl at the 17th position, and a carbonyl at the 2nd 17th position, exactly opposite to that of your testosterone. And dihydrotestosterone, the only it is containing a saturated A ring, that is dihydrotestosterone. A ring is completely saturated, 17 beta and 3, so that is the structure of androstenedione. Estradiol contains estradiol, basic ring is 18 carbon estradiol. This contains 1, 3, 5, 10 estradiol. Estratriene. Why 5 and 10? Because between 5th and the 10th carbon, the 5th carbon and 10th carbon are linked. Okay, that's why it is called 1, 3, 5 and 10. 5-10 estratriene. 3 and 17 diol means the third and the 17th position it contains. Similarly, estrone contains 135 estratriene with an OH at the 3rd and carbonyl at the 17th. And estradiol contains extra OH group at the 17th beta position. So this is the nomenclature of your steroidal